to a live episode of Surviving the Survivor. We bring you the best guests in all of true crime. Don't forget to subscribe and smash that like button. Here's your host, Emmy Award-winning broadcaster, Joel Waldman.
What happens when the justice system collapses from the inside out? Tonight, we're going deep inside a case that's shaking the very foundation of Eastern Kentucky law enforcement. Got a Judge Kevin Mullins, accused of rape, a sheriff on trial for murder, and a prosecutor trading meth for sexual favors. What's up, STS Nation? Welcome to Surviving the Survivor. It is the podcast that promises to bring you the very best guests in all of true crime. As former Letcher County Judge Kevin Mullins is remembered by some as a pillar of justice, there is a woman who has come forward now accusing him of SA and the word that rhymes with grape. Meanwhile, former Sheriff Mickey Steins, who we have covered on the show before, who is seen shooting and killing Kevin Mullins in his chambers, is fighting to have his murder case thrown out, citing grand jury misconduct and a toxic courthouse culture, which is no surprise because it appears everything else within this county is quite toxic. And just one county over, news now out about Perry County's top prosecutor. He's behind bars for allegedly exchanging legal favors for both sex and drugs. So where does all this stop? All this corruption and this depravity? Shout out to Kelly Sanford for the super chat early on. Appreciate it very much. Thank you. Tonight on the show, let me bring in the General Mark Davidson, who is an active district attorney. His jurisdiction, 5 rural counties in Tennessee. He is a district attorney general, hence General Mark Davidson. You've got one of our favorite best guests here, Elizabeth Jones, also known as Hillbilly Crime. You can deliver the news only the way she does. And last and certainly not least, please give her a warm welcome tonight because she's about to share a story that most have not heard. This is Taya Adams, who now has her own YouTube channel called Appalachian Dreamer. And Taya, thank you so much.
Hi.
Huge thanks goes to Elizabeth for contacting you on our behalf and getting you on the show. And General Mark is here. It was just a short time ago on your new channel, Appalachian Dreamer, that you came out and made some very serious allegations against Judge Kevin Mullins, who's obviously no longer here to even defend himself. But, here at SCS, we take this stuff really seriously. And you've obviously got some things to say. Before we get to that real quickly, for those who are new to this story, there's always a lot of Kentuckians in here. So welcome to all of you. We're talking about a crime that goes back to September 19th, 2024. So just this past September, and you may have seen the video. It is Judge Kevin Mullins in his chamber having a conversation with his bailiff, or one-time bailiff, now Sheriff Mickey Steins. Well, no longer because he's since resigned, but he was the active sheriff in Letcher County, Kentucky. And suddenly Mickey Steins draws a firearm from his side and pumps 8 rounds into Judge Kevin Mullins. And for the longest time, including really up to this moment, no one really knew exactly what was happening. Why would an ex-bailiff, the current sheriff, shoot and kill a presiding judge in Letcher County? So that is the basic setup of the show. And Ty Adams, I can see, is asking for water.
Yes, I'm sorry.
I have a sip of water. We'll get you collected here. Before we get to you, Ty, let me just have, since you're trying to clear that throat, Elizabeth, tell me how you came in touch with Taya and how you think her story is now changing the landscape of the bigger story here about this corruption in Letcher County.
Well, I've been saying it that there are a lot of women out here that have a very similar story. Taya is very courageous because she's coming out as, one of the first ones letting her face and her name, be known publicly. And you know, I'm hoping that now that she has kind of broke the mold with this, I hope it'll be like Bill Cosby, you know,
Yeah.
that others will feel more comfortable, because I feel like there's safety in numbers.
Yeah. I just want to again say off the top that these are allegations. I really have not spoken with Taya ahead of this show, but she is brave enough to come on. And I was able to watch her YouTube channel, and I suggest you go and watch. She put together an 11-minute YouTube video on Appalachian.
There's much more.
Yeah, now Ty has put on much more. Ty, I'm going to let you tell us your story in just a second, but General Mark, to you, in no way am I suggesting that what she is about to tell us is not true, because I think it probably more than likely is. But a prosecutor, like a journalist, I guess, has to have a hint of skepticism, right? Like, you have to ask the questions, General Mark. So ahead of hearing the story, I would, urge you to jump in and ask some follow-up questions. But what are you curious to hear from Taya yourself, General Mark?
Well, you always want anybody who's been victimized to come forward and report it, and within the applicable statute of limitations, you certainly hope so that it can be investigated and hopefully charged up and prosecuted. I'll be interested to hear what she's got to say. I know we have some background on this. I know Elizabeth is very familiar with it about alleged misconduct in Letcher County, and now we're hearing that in the county next door, a local prosecutor has apparently been charged federally with some misconduct. So there does seem to be a pattern in this area
I
of
have
Kentucky of
people
some
messaging from
misconduct.
all over.
Yeah. We're gonna get to that story too, but I appreciate you bringing it
Yeah.
up. So Taya, without further ado, just tell us about yourself before we get into the story. Obviously, we know your name. Do you live in Letcher County? Do you have children? Are you
Yes.
married? Tell us a little bit about yourself and how and why you decided to come forward.
Well, I live in Letcher County. We have a farm in Jeremiah. Me and my husband's family, and I do have children. I have 4 children. That's part of my story. My girls are a big part of my story. And the thing with Kevin, that's something that I want to be clear on. That little thing with Kevin, that's a very, very small piece. And at this point, like, as far as my own personal healing and forgiveness and stuff goes, I've already moved past that. Like, with him personally, that's not the point anymore. What the problem is the way that the people are being treated. It's the conditions of the jail. It's the way the court system uses and abuses, not only sexually, in various forms, the people of this place. There are hundreds of us. There are hundreds of us that have been done dirty, really dirty by this place.
Taya, hang on. I'm hearing a little bit of weird music. I don't know if that's coming.
Hold on.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you hit that off just because that almost sounds like a music score underneath. But General Mark, back to you.
There we go.
Yeah, just real quick, Ty, 1 sec. I mean, Ty is now alleging hundreds of other victims out there. From your perspective as an active DA, what would you be doing? What should the prosecutors in Letcher County and surrounding counties be doing to go investigate and interview these women, General?
Yes, they need to be trying to follow up on any tips they get and encourage other victims to come forward. And we know that the kind of the basis of some of the issues in the murder of the judge involved behavior by the sheriff's deputy, victimizing women who were in the court system. He was convicted of that and served some jail time, although that sentence seemed fairly light, I think, to most of us. But so clearly there's a history here of misconduct, and you certainly want to encourage your local authorities to go interview as many people and try to corroborate their testimony as best they can and bring those responsible to justice.
Yeah.
The ones responsible are the local authorities.
Yep. We're going to get to that, Taya. Yep.
Yeah.
Mark, General, jump in there.
Yeah. So you've got some new prosecutors in town to prosecute the sheriff. And so, in Tennessee, and I know every state's a little different, But we have the TBI, and I think their equivalent in Kentucky is probably the Kentucky State Police. Those are the folks I would be talking to at this juncture to try to get a different agency involved and take a look at this with a fresh set of eyes.
That's what we're looking for, outside help.
Yeah.
Like, that's what this whole movement is for, is to bring in investigators and lawyers for these people.
Right.
Because we don't have anybody. We cannot trust anybody. I'm afraid to leave my property right now. My friend was arrested yesterday for protesting in front of the courthouse.
Yeah.
While we were on a live stream talking about this.
Yeah, and it takes a lot of courage. And Ty, I'm glad you're here. And this tonight's show is going to be definitely different than a typical show, which I structure. It's going to be more of a conversation, and I want to get right to your story. But Elizabeth, to you, who's the host of Hillbilly Crime, and she's growing her channel, and she's awesome, and she's been the leader on this story without a doubt. Yeah. So credit to Elizabeth Jones and Hillbilly Crime. But Elizabeth, when you heard Taya's story, and now she's corroborating some of the things that people had suspected. And again, Judge Kevin Mullins is not here to defend himself. So these are allegations, and this would have to be proven in a court of law. But when you heard her share her story, which she's going to do again,
it will be proven.
I personally have no doubt. Yeah. But Elizabeth, what was your initial reaction to hearing this person, Taya, come forward?
Well, I was kind of ecstatic that she did finally come forward. People are afraid. One of the lives that she did recently, she had 2 former employees of the jail come on. And I sent that to you right before this show. So you haven't had a chance to listen to that yet and listen to the employees and what they had to say. It's shocking. One of them talks about another young lady named Lexi Bentley. I want to make sure that we bring up Lexi. She was allegedly, she was sent. So what they told is that she was sent from the jail to the hazard psych ward on self-harm watch. And she was supposed to have been watched like every 15 minutes, but somehow she supposedly succeeded in that. Well, during this live that Taya did, one of the employees speaks out about that and says that, that was a big cover up, basically. So there's a lot coming out. There's so much coming out.
All right. So Taya, I know there's a lot of tentacles to what you want to get out there. I mean, and you said that you've forgiven the judge, but let's go back in time. Tell us about the incident with the judge. What year are we talking about? Where were you in your life? And set up the story. Yeah.
My sister worked for Edison whenever I was growing up. She worked for him for like 25 years. So I grew up in his office and like growing up around these people and these lawyers and stuff. And whenever he got elected for Commonwealth Attorney, I went to work there to learn how to do office management as kind of like an informal internship. My sister and him, they were teaching me how to, do office work and legal work. And that evening, I went over to Kevin Mullins' office, which was across the street from City Hall. He was the assistant Commonwealth Attorney at the time. I went over there to learn how to take a deposition, and that's when it happened.
And so what year is this?
I was 16. It was before I got pregnant with Leah. It was 2000. This is around 2001-ish.
2001. Oh, if you're okay with it and you're comfortable, tell us. So you were learning to take depositions.
It might have been a little bit later than that. My daughter was born in 2003. I'm bad with dates. I have a hard time with dates. I'm ADHD and my brain is.
But you were a teen, either 16.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. So this is sort of I guess maybe a first job. You're pregnant or have your first child.
I was about to be pregnant. Yeah. It wasn't long after that I got pregnant with my first child.
Okay. So just if you're comfortable with it, tell us. You go to the courthouse, obviously. The judge, for those who don't know, Kevin Mullins has been a judge for 20 plus years. So he's already, I assume, in a position of power as a judge. And just walk us through what does he tell you? How does this You know,
Back
without
then, before he was the judge, like whenever that happened, it
yeah.
was really degrading. Afterward, he like sweet talked me and swooned me, and he was a handsome young man with bright blue eyes and a big future. Like I wanted to flirt with him and be nice to him and stuff. I wanted him to like me.
What
So,
position was he in? I'm sorry. What position? What was he? What was his job at the time?
assistant Commonwealth attorney.
Okay, so you go there, and he starts sweet talking you. Tell us about it.
I mean, just what I said, and I ended up giving him oral, and he threw money in my face. My top was pulled down, like my straps was pulled down off my top. He threw the money in my face, and that was like where it started. And I became a sex worker. We would put on shows for them. We would have sex with them. We would clean naked for them.
And this was all going on
Him, Harold Boland, Daniel Dotson, all of them.
And he's the assistant Commonwealth attorney. So where is this stuff all happening? Is this at the courthouse?
At the courthouse, different rooms in the courthouse, back in the back where the vending machines and stuff are. Harold Bowling's office. There's a story about that's about to come out about what happened with me and Harold Bowling.
And tell us who, because most of us don't know who he is. Who is he?
Harold Bowling. He was, what is he? The county. He's the child support attorney, the one that gave me that put the child support and stuff on me and helped them to do all that whenever they gave me a life sentence for child support.
And is he still active as an attorney?
He's dead.
He's dead. Okay, so he's no longer active.
Yeah, I found that out whenever I got out of prison. He was, I think he died while I was in prison, or maybe soon after.
Let me hold it right there. And let me go back, pivot to Elizabeth Jones. Hillbilly, you seem sort of unfazed by this, and maybe it's because you live in Letcher County, but you just heard Taya saying that as the assistant Commonwealth attorney, Judge Kevin Mullins, who's no longer with us, flirted with her, obviously, 20 plus years younger, 25 years ago or so. You said he had a big future, and she ended up flirting with him and performing oral sex, but then it went on to them having working the sex trade, doing sex shows, cleaning naked. Just your reaction to that.
Sometimes it would be like at apartments and things like that too, but like it was wherever was convenient. Pulled over on a strip job, wherever, it don't matter. You know how they are around here.
Yeah, and he was throwing money at her, Elizabeth. Your response. I don't know if you know all this yet, Elizabeth, but your response to these details.
Well, what she's referring to is what everybody around here knows as the private parties. They have had private parties for a very long time where they hire local musicians to come in sometimes, and they would have a live band. And one of the big things that I have been told that they liked was women to clean naked for them, like just clean their house naked and just walk around naked. And when they would have their poker parties and their card parties, they had women serve their drinks topless. This has been something, like I told you before the show, a lot of this stuff was 20 years ago. It's not like this is something that's just happened within the last 5 years. And prior to technology and social media advancing so much in the last 5 years, these people were loud, they were out, and they were proud of being old perverted men until it started to become, not such a great look, and social media caught up with it. And now everybody's like, how dare you say that? Well, everybody was saying it before.
Yeah, that's what, like those depositions that everybody gave at the courthouse claiming that they didn't have a clue that any of this ever went on or none of that. Every one of them are straight up liars. There's no way. And I will tell it right to their face. There's no way that they did not know. This whole town knows. Everybody.
Yeah, and Elizabeth, Colleen here says they would arrest the women later to keep them quiet and control them. Is that what you have found?
Yeah, they get them in the system. See, that is that never-ending system, that never-ending cycle. So once they get them arrested, then and all it takes is just the arrest. That's just the get. Then once they got them in, they either have them on a bond, so they're under conditions of a bond where they're threatened to be put back in jail at any moment, or they're put on house arrest where, that's being profited from, and sexually, financially,
Drug court.
power play, or they'll send them to rehab underneath another very similar person, so they're still under the thumb, or they graduate upstairs to the drug court, and once they go into drug court, they give away their right to an attorney. They give away any of their rights. They are bound by the rules and the guidelines of drug court. Like one of my girlfriends got a 2-year drug court sentence. She went to drug court. Not one time did she have a dirty urine, but she ended up serving 4 years in drug court instead of 2 because they kept putting her back at the beginning of the program because they didn't like things that she would say. Whenever she would try to stand up for herself or, something, they'd put her back at the beginning. And I'm like, wait a minute, how can they just keep you in drug court indefinitely? And that means that they're always going to be able to pick something. It doesn't matter what it is, and just put you right back in jail or put you right back at the beginning. You're at their mercy.
Yeah, Ty, I'm going to get right back to you, but let me get the general in here. So, Mark, a few things. Number one, what Happy Days says is 100% true. A clear line of demarcation. She was a minor, at least Taya was at the time. You're hearing that some of this is dating back to 2001, Mark. So I don't know. It would seem to me statute of limitations on that may have, expired. But Mark, this is some of the most serious. So these are some of the most serious allegations. We're talking about basically sex trafficking, hiring them as sex workers, having these sex parties, exploiting them by having them clean naked. And we haven't even gotten into some of the charges that Taya dealt with and prison sentences. Yeah, still dealing with all these years later. So I guess, Mark, what advice do you have for Taya today? Because it seems like everyone is going up and down elevator here with the level of corruption. Does Taya need to contact the Kentucky State Police? What can she do?
No, fuck no. Sorry, pardon
no.
They are dangerous.
Mark, your response. This is small town here. This is small county. Yeah.
True.
Taya, hang on. Let Mark jump in, and we'll come back to you.
Sorry.
No, I like.
Don't mess with the police here, because they will kill you. They will hurt you. They will sit you out in a ditch.
Mark, the floor is yours.
And I touched on statute of limitations earlier, and we've come a long way. I know when I started back in the mid '90s, statutes of limitation were typically a lot shorter. We've gotten better educated about these types of crimes and how they victimize people. So statutes of limitations today for felony offenses and felony sex offenses have gotten much longer. In fact, in Kentucky, I think there is no statute of limitations for the crime of rape. So anybody that's been victimized like this, especially a minor, that wrapped up in that is a whole lot of different offenses. When you're under the authority of a court or law enforcement, that puts those people in positions of authority that can enhance the punishment or the severity of those crimes. So you can have a statutory essaying of a minor. That's one thing, but if it's done by an authority figure, that's a more serious offense, and that's a felony. And
he's dead though.
Well, that's a problem unique to Judge Mullins in your particular case. But to the extent that others are involved and had been involved and might still be alive and still be chargeable, those do need to be reported.
Yes.
Whether it's to
there are many of those.
Whether it's the Kentucky State Police or the FBI, I would encourage people to reach out and contact. And when you have a systematic abuse like that, that can lead to a different kind of charging as well. And so,
can I tell you what happens when you reach out?
Please go ahead.
Sure.
gang stalking, drugging, hot shots. You can't call and ask for help. I have written the governor. I've written the attorney general. I've made phone calls. I've asked outside law firms for help. Nobody will touch it. They say they're not touching this place. They don't want no part of it. The only people that I've even felt close enough to, trusting enough to approach with it, and that's not even bringing up all the other stuff. That's just with my charges and stuff, like asking for a lawyer to come here and look at this.
Mark, what about?
I would suggest the U.S. Attorney's Office is prosecuting the state prosecutor in the county next door.
Well, they got the feds all over the place kicking people's doors in, taking people to jail on bench warrants. Why can't they come and question the people that are the actual victims of the criminals?
I think they should.
They're everywhere. They're all over the place, kicking people's doors in, bothering innocent people that ain't hurting nobody, and just making shit harder. That's something else that happens. They will come for me. They will come for me. I'm still on parole. And I know by speaking out that they are going to retaliate in some form. I'm just waiting for it.
Mark, what about the FBI, Mark?
Yes. I mean, the FBI, now I don't know which law enforcement agency actually did the investigation of that state prosecutor. I think his name is Scott Blair. That could have been a state agency. That could also be a federal agency. I haven't seen the actual warrant in that case, and Elizabeth might have more information, obviously, than I do. I just learned about that a little while ago, but clearly there's a federal interest in taking on this type of misconduct and corruption, and I think that would be a good place to start.
Yeah. COE, I don't know if you can find it or if someone in STS Nation can get us an email for the Kentucky FBI office, and then what you guys can all do. And again, I always say the most powerful weapon in the world is a microphone. But if you guys can share this show with that tip line, if there's an email, COE, if we can find one, you guys can all email the FBI office in Kentucky after this show and just flood their inboxes with emails to make them aware of what's going on. Elizabeth, before I get back to Taya, other people, do you have any idea, Elizabeth, the number of women who have similar stories at this point?
No, I couldn't even guess what numbers we're talking about, because, I said quite some time ago that I thought they used that jail as a sex dungeon, and basically what they did. That was the very first thing that Taya said to me when we very first spoke. She said that place is a dungeon, and it just took me back to what I had, previously thought about it. That prosecutor who was prosecuted for sex and drugs, he was extorting, coercing defendants that he was supposed to be prosecuting. And he was gay, so he was targeting, straight men, and I guess, but it was straight men who were his,
and young boys too. There was young boys involved. I don't know how much sexually, but I do know that there was a lot of hands-on. A lot of them have been beaten, starved.
That was.
There's a lot of problems with the men too.
That over there, he was, and so he was accused of, getting these men to bring him drugs. He was accused of getting these men to let him perform stuff on him, favors on him, and then he would make them perform on him or whatever, whichever way it went. But
for each other.
But what he ended up, this was an FBI investigation. He got no convictions on any of that. What he pled guilty to was honest services fraud. So he is not going to be registered sex offender. There are no drug charges on him. And Ned Pillersdorf was his attorney. So, that shows us the kind of backroom deal making that goes on. That's just one case, okay? A lot of these people here, we have no legal representation because you can't even trust your defense attorney.
Yeah, this is scary stuff. I mean, General, back to you. Does this open up the possibility? I'm not trying to help out Mickey Steins here, but I'm just wondering if Mickey Steins could turn around and cut some sort of deal, offering information up in exchange for a little bit of leniency on the sentence. Do you see any potential path like that?
That is probably a possibility if he's got valuable information that could assist in a different investigation and charging. However, Sheriff Stein's problem is he's charged with murder. So it is very, very difficult to offer up any information that's going to mitigate your culpability for murder. And as of now, we still don't understand exactly what the defense is going to be. We're still waiting to see that play out. So I'd say that possibility is pretty remote. There are probably other witnesses out there that they could go to that could provide some information. I did find online just now that Blair apparently pled guilty in 2024.
Mm-hmm.
He received a 54-month prison sentence.
Yeah.
And it looked like the Kentucky State Police, the Kentucky Attorney General, and the FBI were involved in that investigation.
Yeah.
It was the Louisville field office of the FBI.
Okay, and for those who don't know what the general is talking about, in Perry County, which is the neighboring county to Letcher County, the Commonwealth's attorney is a guy named Scott Blair. He was arrested back in June of 2024, so basically a year ago. He was charged with honest services wire fraud in federal court, and allegations where he used Facebook Messenger to solicit both sex and meth from defendants his office was actively prosecuting. At least 5 victims were identified by investigators. One male victim said he was given probation and drug court in exchange for sex. So this is the same pattern. So it was a male victim given probation and drug court in exchange for sex. But when he stopped complying, this guy, Scott Blair, revoked his deal and sent him back to jail. Blair now is being held at the Laurel County Correctional Center with a federal hearing scheduled in London, Kentucky. Back to you, Elizabeth. Do we know other than that, do we know what's next for this case for Scott Blair?
Not for Scott Blair. He'll probably get out early, but for some reason, and he'll ride off into the sunset and nothing else will happen to him.
He can't get released early. There's no parole in the federal system.
So. Okay.
Yeah, you have to do 85% or something.
At least 85%, yeah, if not more. Now, Elizabeth brought up the question about him maybe not being held accountable for all of his crimes, and it would appear to me that there probably were some state charges that could have been applied to him. Now, it's not unusual when there are concurrent state and federal charges for one entity, whether it's the state government or the federal government, to take the lead and press what they believe is the best case. And sometimes a state will not follow up with their own charges if they think that the federal sentence more or less covers whatever penalty they could get. And we do encounter that sometimes. And recently I've had the federal government decline to prosecute some of my cases because our state sentences have actually gotten tougher than some of the federal sentences. So you don't want to, agencies and public entities don't always want to expend resources unnecessarily if you can't get any more out of the case. Sometimes the juice didn't work the squeeze. So I don't know exactly what all state charges Kentucky might have had in mind, but it looks to me like both the state and the feds were involved in that particular prosecution, and I guess satisfied themselves that they'd gotten the sentence they wanted.
Yeah, a tiny bit of, I guess, justice is that this guy, Scott Blair, who is essentially the county attorney, is now disbarred, as he should be. But,
Yes,
Taya, let's go back to you for a minute. The biggest question here is, where do you go for help when you're hearing these stories? And it seems like everyone inside the government and law enforcement is essentially corrupt in this town. I'm going to have Steve Cohen dig around, and we'll try to get someone from the Kentucky FBI to do a follow-up story on this, and even someone from the U.S. Attorney's Office. But so, Taya, you're saying you were basically a teenager about to give birth to your first child when this started happening with Judge Kevin Mullins. And again, these are allegations.
It was before I got pregnant with her, and then it continued after I had her.
Yeah. And so how long were you sort of brought in as a sex worker? How long were you participating in these sex parties?
Until I was about 20 I was about to turn 21 when my mom died, and I just like went off the rails and went nuts and started shooting up, trying to kill myself. I was trying to overdose myself, and Kevin seen that I had bruises on me, and he didn't like that. And I ended up getting sent to detox for 17 days. Court ordered to take Suboxone. I was the first person to take home Suboxones back to Letcher County by court order. They wanted me to go to drug court, but my dad said no, because it would have been a conflict of interest for me to do drug court here in Letcher County because of Edison and my sister and our family relationship. So my dad was like, no, because they wanted me to leave my home here and go to Pikeville and stay in a homeless shelter so that I could enroll in their drug court program. My dad blooped. He flipped out. Well, my dad's no longer with us. He died while I was in prison, and that was my last advocate. So he, after that, I ended up getting sent out. When I did finally get out of the detox, they had me all doped up on all these meds and stuff, sick as a dog on it. I hate Suboxone. I mean, it was good and it saved my life, but it is not a long-term thing. But then they sent me, after they had already released me from the detox with my Suboxone, and I'd been home for a week or two, they come back, the court sent the cops to pick me up and said that I was court ordered to go to rehab in Virginia, in Duffield, Virginia. New Beginnings was the place. And I was one of the first ones through the door over there. And I stayed there for a whole year and then did aftercare there. And then went on with my life afterward and got sober, had Sadie. Lost her. The state came in and took her. They didn't let me leave the hospital with her. They said that that she had more in her meconium, her first bowel movement, that she had Suboxone in her first bowel movement, and that I didn't have a valid active prescription. So that was their grounds for removing her from me and not letting me take my child home from the hospital, even though I did have a prescription all the way up until the end when the doctor's office closed.
Yeah. Is that normal, Mark, for them to send someone out of state?
Oh, and
is that normal?
Prescription, I still had pills in my prescription from the previous month that I hadn't even taken yet. The prescription wasn't even expired for the month yet. And you said they used to remove her.
But you said they wanted you to do rehab in another state, right? In Virginia?
Yeah, they sent me to Virginia.
Mark, is that normal to have someone go to a different state for treatment?
We were some of the first that was ever getting sent to rehab from here. We didn't have no rehab anywhere here.
Possible. I'd say it depends on your geographical location. We've had defendants go to Mississippi to what they believe to be pretty, good rehab centers. You could go to Arkansas, but those are within an hour drive from us or so. If I was in Middle Tennessee or Middle Kentucky, I think that would be a bit unusual.
So Ty, I know this is you're like me, you got ADHD, so you want to get it all out, and it's rough. But so
I'm passionate about this.
Yeah, I know, I can tell, and you should be. So, and I'm sorry for everything you're going through. So you're like 21 or so, you said, when the sex part of it stopped, but then you did get, I guess, in trouble for.
Well, it didn't completely stop. It just slowed down with Kevin, and I still fooled with some of them, and then especially Harold Bowen. Like, I stuck with Harold Bowen for a while, even throughout being with Silas and having Sadie. After we lost Sadie and everything, I still fooled with Harold Bowen until he did me really, really dirty one day, and that's coming out soon. I don't want to talk about it here to take away from.
No, that's okay, but eventually, I guess you were sentenced to a term in prison. Why was that? When did that happen?
I got a trafficking charge for one Suboxone strip that I gave a girl that harassed me and chased me all the way up on the mountain. I'm dope sick. It doesn't matter. I did it. I gave it to her, right? So that was my original charge. I did 6 months on that charge. Went to court.
When is this? When is this?
Is it 2015?
Okay,
15 or 16.
Okay.
I've got the papers laying in there. I was all set up to do this in another room, and then everything.
No, it's okay. But let me ask you. So between 2001 roughly and 2015, were you involved in all this stuff, or was there like a big lull in time?
There was like a lull in time because I got sober, and whenever after they took Sadie from me, I went off the rails for a little while, and then I sobered back up, and I went and I got pregnant with twins, and I had my little twins, and they were 3 years old whenever I left the home that we were in because I was being raped by my father-in-law, like everywhere, really, really bad. He would break into my house. He would kick in my bathroom door. He would just take me wherever I was at. As long as not, and we would be riding to church in the car. He'd be sticking his hand back, trying to rub on my leg and stuff.
This
And
is your father-in-law? This your father?
Yeah, I would tell Nathan, and he'd be like, I'll talk to him. He's harmless. He don't mean nothing by it. He never did believe me. Like, he never fully believed me. So I shut down, and I got depressed. My house got to be where it was a mess. You couldn't walk through it. Everything, my whole life just crumbled out from under me because of what was happening to me. And I knew it was time to go. So I left, and that's one of the guests that I had on today on my live. I went to her whenever I left that situation. I went to her house, and she helped me. She was helping me to get back, up on my feet so we could go get my girls. I hadn't even left. I left this county. We drove to Somerset to her house, took like 3.5 hours because we stopped a couple times. And I hadn't been there no time. Hour or two, I don't know. It wasn't no time. We'd only been there for a few hours at the very most. And we went out to go get cigarettes. My truck broke down. The cops pulled up on us. And I was like, it's okay. Like, I don't have any warrants or anything. I've got my driver's license. Like, we're fine. He's going to help us and boost us off or something. And, so we went a mile from the apartment. They had a warrant on me for child support. I had just finished probation a few few weeks before that, because I'd been waiting to get off that probation so that I could leave and not have anything hanging over my head.
Elizabeth, just jump in here. I don't know how many conversations you've had with Taya, and what I know you're pretty diligent in terms of your investigative reporting. I don't know. I have no doubt that what she's telling us is the truth. Obviously, it had to be corroborated, but just jump in here. I mean, you've got a couple different aspects. You've got when she was a teenager, all this stuff going on, and then you heard her, Taya, say she got clean, and then back in 2015 or around there, a trafficking charge. I guess just your reaction to hearing all these different parts of one person's story, with you saying that there are all these other women out there on top of it.
Well, what I'd like to say is, the other night somebody had commented in the chat, or actually it was today. Oh, like, you didn't do this or this, or whatever it was they said. And it just struck me. We have to remember there's no angels here. There's no innocent parties here. Like, we're talking about drug addiction. We're talking about
I feel like I've made my penance. I have served my time and then some. I've served it for myself, for others. I have suffered for myself, for others at their expense. I have done my time for them. I served out my parole. Did you know that? I served out my parole down to day zero. Went in to get my gold seal to be told that they would not release me from parole.
And Taya, what did they tell you? Because I understand your parole is not.
Can we go back to the charges? Because that trafficking charge was just how they got me in the jail.
Yeah, let I want Mark to follow this. So yeah, tell us. And Mark, this is tell us. Go ahead about
there was a okay. So I went to court on that trafficking and child support charge. They gave me 5 years on each, but it was probated. Right, I was getting ready to get out on probation. They were supposed to release me that day. They didn't send the paperwork down, so I had to stay the weekend. The next day in the cell, we got into a fight with another girl, and it was a bad little fight. It was, but I mean, it is what it is. And I'll tell you, I ain't never hit nobody that didn't earn it. But that's besides the point. Like, we hurt the girl, and we all have made our amends with her too, with our victim. And because whenever they put us in the hole for the fight, they put her in the hole beside of us. So we just laid back there for 8 months and just talked to each other and bonded, but the thing is they charged us with kidnapping. The charge that I was convicted on is unlawful imprisonment.
Okay. Mark, does that make sense to you?
It probably would not make sense to most folks to think that you're confined in a jail and
at the holding cell, in the booking desk, at the booking desk.
Right. Yeah. So legally speaking, you can confine somebody against their will technically anywhere. And if in Tennessee, at least, if it increases the risk of harm to that person, then that can be charged as a kidnapping, or in Ty's case, it sounds like false imprisonment is what they were alleging occurred there.
Unlawful imprisonment.
Right. That sounds like the Kentucky version of that. So
yeah.
If two people assault another person and one person's the victim's trying to escape and the other one holds them down, and this is just a hypothetical. Yeah, maybe that you can incorporate that charge as well. It sounds like that's what they tried to do.
That's not really it either, though.
Yeah, let Elizabeth jump in here. Okay. Go ahead, Elizabeth.
I think what's being overlooked in the whole thing is the responsibility of the jail. The girl that they put in the cell with her was a murder suspect. Is that right?
Who murdered our friend and sat in that cell and told us how she drove around with his brains and his blood in her back seat for 3 days, and it looked like dried spaghetti sauce.
So, you know,
that's what got her hit.
The jail did that. The jail was responsible for putting them in that cell together. They knew what they were doing when they put them all in there. You know, it's kind of
that's why they put us together like that.
Yes, and this is just one of many stories of how the jail would orchestrate beat downs and lots of stuff like that. You
would usually get 10 days time served. That was the norm for that.
Yeah.
They gave us, I ended up my final sentencing day with Jimmy Kraft. He said that the 5 and 5, the first original charges were going to be run concurrent for a total of 5, plus the extra 2.5 years that I got tacked on, you know, while I was at the jail for the fight and the contraband charge that I got. And whenever I got, and I said, he was, you know how they ask you at the end of court, like, are you clear on this? Do you understand everything that's been done? I said, no, I do not. That was the first time I met my attorney, was that day. Everybody else got an attorney. They got Bill Melton. The other girls did, my co-defendants, but not me. I got that Seth Combs, that I never seen a day in my life until the day that he locked me away and then forged my final sentencing papers. Whenever I got to prison, I got my timesheet to learn that they ran it all consecutive. I had 12.5 years. So I did the time. I did their programs flawlessly. I mean, the Willow I didn't do flawlessly. That took me a few tries. That was the substance abuse and the mental health and the trauma programming. But that was the program that changed my life. So the repeats of it, I needed that. You know, God left me there because I needed to be there. They're the ones that gave me the courage and the strength to do this.
Elizabeth, let me ask you, are you afraid? So Taya said at the beginning that she's hiding out on her farm. Are you afraid for Taya right now, for her safety at this point?
Yeah, but you know, I think that once she speaks out, you know, if anything does happen, I think
it can only help us at this point.
She'll be more apt to get some help from somebody now that she's spoken out. You know, I have been threatened recently, Joel, and we have a jailer, the former jailer, Bert Sloan, retired a couple months before Mickey, and then his brother, who he had hired, was appointed the new jailer, Brian Sloan. Well, they have a sister, and their sister has been going around telling anybody that will listen, allegedly, that they're as soon as they see me, they're going to rip their uniforms off and they're going to beat me, give me a beat down that I ain't never had before. And if they can just get me into the jail, get me arrested and get me into the jail, then I'm really in for the beat down. And the current jailer, now this is all from their sister, allegedly from the jailer's sister. She says that her brother said that as long as they didn't break any of my bones, then they could help the guards. But if they break any of my bones, then he's not able to help them.
Mark, this sounds like an absolute mess, and that is an understatement. I mean, I'm just going to go back to these are obviously women that need help, and it's not just these two women. And now it sounds like Elizabeth is being threatened, which is horrible. If you're Elizabeth or Taya and you get off this done talking on this show, who would you recommend their first call? I mean, they're afraid to call anybody. Is it the U.S. attorney?
Well, given the fact that they actually took on the case of that prosecutor in that neighboring county, I would suggest that looks like a pretty good place to start. The Louisville FBI office. I mean, if you can't trust your local officials and you don't,
I mean, what are they going to do? Tell them,
well,
bad boys.
Well, you've
Don't
got to
do it
start.
again.
You have to start somewhere.
You know?
And it sounds like nobody really trusts their local police to do it, or the local sheriff's department. So yes, that is exactly where I would go.
Yeah, Mickey was right to be afraid for his life to get into that car.
Yeah, Ty, that was gonna be my Ty. That was my next.
Being paranoid. That was
yeah, yeah. So that was my next question. I mean, if you guys remember seeing the video after the arrest, Sheriff Mickey Steins was very paranoid, seemingly paranoid, and he was saying, "Treat me fair," and he was worried that they were going to take him into the woods. So Taya, you think he understood the level of corruption? He was afraid that
Absolutely.
he was. Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing. I don't know what all Mickey got up to over the years, but he was firm with me, but he was never inappropriate with me. And he was like consistent. He was one of those people that were consistent, like those are the ones that we respect, the ones that you can at least, rely on not to do you dirty or jerk the mat out from under you. But he, regardless of what other bad things, and I know that he's probably been part of hurting other people too, but regardless, he's my hero. Point blank.
Mickey is.
Yes.
Really?
Because if he had not have done what he's done, then we might never have this opportunity.
So let me ask you, going back to that day, September 19th, I think it is, when you got news that Mickey Stein shot and killed Judge Mullins, did you know right away what was happening and why?
Yes. I turned around and told my husband, I said, "Oh, it's coming. Here it is." And he's like, "Ain't nothing ever going to happen in this place. It ain't." I said, watch me rise, because I'm not sitting here anymore and watching. And the phone calls, the FaceTimes, the messages that I have been getting from all these girls, it's going to blow your freaking mind. It is going to blow your mind. Like, I've only dropped a small fraction.
Well,
there is so much more to come. And it's not just people's allegations and words. That's what I need to make sure is clear here. We have solid physical evidence. And no, it's not in any of our homes. So don't even try to come and swoop us up and dig it out. Don't bother. It ain't even in the state. But there is lots of it. There's digital evidence. There's physical evidence. There's probably about 30 years worth of it.
Well, Taya,
have been holding it and saving and waiting for this.
If you and other victims need a platform, mine is always open. So share that with your friends. If you want to come on with people, with Elizabeth, whatever you want, you let me know. But Elizabeth, back to Ned Smith is much more level-headed than me. I'm just shocked at what I'm hearing here. But Ned Smith, the woman with the bun, wants to know, what do these women need? What would help them out of this situation? I guess that's a much clearer, concise way of asking it. So, Elizabeth, what is your answer to Ned Smith?
One of the things that I was really concerned about is the Hollywood or networks coming in and trying to buy these women's stories for $500 or, $5,000 even. So, and I'm no lawyer or anything. I'm no producer or nothing like that. But I just, one thing that I would like to do is be able to teach these young women how to do their own YouTube, how to do their own social media, and let them tell their own story and let them make their own money, and stop the people from the vultures
gain their own independence
from profiting from these women. So I've recently spoken to one of the high profile victims in this whole case, but I'm not going to say which one. And I was just completely shocked to find out that she has absolutely zero resources. She doesn't have any money. She said, everybody thinks because I've been, my name's been out there that I've got money, or that we're on our feet. She said, they can't get jobs. Her kids can't get jobs. She went to the store one day and she said, I swear I was nowhere near the exit. And they come over there and talk to me and the police. And the next thing you know, she was arrested for shoplifting. Like she just can't catch a break. And, she's very smart. She is very determined. But, my concern is that people will come in and take and profit from them and profit from their stories. And I think that social media and I think that these platforms have developed enough that if we can help them get on their feet and make their own money, then, people will listen to what they have to say.
I'm 100% with you. I mean, that's the beauty of YouTube is that everyone can get a platform. You have dumb idiot TV executives deciding who are the hosts. So, and Taya did that, and you're obviously doing that. Julie Frew here, who's one of our mods who helps us a ton. The FBI contact here. You want to just go to www.fbi.gov and you can search for the Louisville field office. This is the actual link, but you want to go there. And then on Twitter here, which is now X, it's x.com/FBI Louisville. So if you just put in FBI Louisville under the X, and listen, I encourage you to share the link to this show with them. Say, hey, this is what is going on. Watch this. Can you help these people? Taya, to you. So how many years, let me just get this on the record. How many years did you serve in prison for? How many years total were you in prison?
I did about 3 county total and then 5 in Pee Wee Valley.
3 county, 5, and that's the state prison in Pee Wee County? Or that's county? That's state?
State. Yeah.
Okay. So 8 years total?
Yeah.
8 years.
Yeah. And I finished my parole and did all their classes and their substance abuse. And whenever I got out on parole, they tried to make me go to drug court. And I threw a fit in the parole office. Like I blooped out. And they fixed that and had it fixed where I could just do aftercare for 6 more months.
By the way, this is another great one.
And this is after I had already been sentenced and served my time. They wanted to add drug court onto my charge after I had already served the time.
Yeah. Elizabeth and Ty, if you can, Google the Southern Poverty Law Center. They've been around for 100-something years.
Okay.
And they're advocates for people in the South. Please contact the Southern Poverty Law Center. Send them the link and tell them what's going on. But Taya, back to you. So you get out of prison. You served your time, the 8 years, 3 county, 5 state. And I understand, though, your parole continues through something like 2099. Why? What's going on with that?
They said that they would not release me from parole until my child support is paid in full. Now, mind you, whenever I got final sentenced, they also doubled my child support payment. The day that they did my final sentencing, they filed it at the same time. And then whenever I got out, I got put on a payment plan and I started making the payments. I've not missed a single payment. I've made payments in between when I can, not much extra, because I've had to pay off fines and restitution and stuff too through the clerk's office. I still owe $300 in court costs up there. But the child support thing, I only found out just recently through one of the parole officers that they charge so much interest on your child support that you can't pay it off at a lower payment grade like that. And I do not have the money to pay anymore. I mean, and she has been, she's 22 years old. So she don't get a dime of the money. It's taking money out of her pocket. I mean, and it always has. At one point, they had me and her dad paying each other child support, and my sister was drawing a check on her.
By the way, this is another contact. I'm listening to you, Ty, but Flora Paris, Elizabeth should write. Gloria Allred is a very famous
I'm going to have to go back over these.
She's a very famous women's rights attorney, and I actually was sitting with her and her daughter at the Diddy trial of all places. But her daughter, her name's Lisa Bloom, very well known as well, and Elizabeth, I'm going to try to connect you. I have her contact info. So let's just, after the show or tomorrow, let's connect and I'll give you her information and you can send her some of the material that you have. But this is absolutely crazy what's going on. So the parole goes through, oh, we just lost Ty. She'll come back in a minute. Through 2099. But Elizabeth, to you, I think Taya said, and we can ask her when she pops back in, that she's basically hiding out on her farm, that she's terrified of, the repercussions of speaking out. I guess, do you have any advice to her? Do you totally understand where she's coming from?
Stay at home. A little girl got arrested yesterday for protesting down in town, and she told me that she had her little megaphone out there. She's getting
traumatized
by herself.
What happened with that protest? Tell us about that.
She was by herself.
And was she's
4'11" too, so just mind you, she ain't no threat to nobody.
But
she might climb somebody like a tree if you hurt her, but she ain't gonna hurt nobody. It ain't like she was hurting anybody.
Is she a victim? Is she a victim? And is she a victim, Elizabeth?
Her former girlfriend was a police officer in Whitesburg, and she was also a police officer in Jenkins, and I think she was a police officer in Elkhorn City. And they were, involved in a lot of their own injustice and stalking, and say that they were set up in ways. And so she's really outspoken. But I wanted to mention something, Joe. Just like Taya coming out now, look how long my show has been going on. Like, we've been up, maybe 8 months or something. It started in last August. Mm-hmm. But so we are coming up on a year here that it's been going. Nobody was listening at the beginning. It took getting on here and just ringing that bell and ringing that bell and ringing that bell, because all of this sounds so unbelievable to the rest of the world, and we live it every day.
Yeah, it's to me, it sounds, I'm going to be honest, completely bonkers. It sounds like a lawless, crazy county.
Hence why we had a sheriff walk into the courthouse and put 8 slugs in a judge. You know what I'm saying? Look what started all this.
Shout out to McSpunky, always generous. If there's anybody, the most valuable thing, I think, too, if there's anybody within STS Nation who does some kind of pro bono legal work and wants to help these women get in touch with, on their behalf, help them with getting in touch with U.S. attorneys or the FBI. So, sometimes, and this is no offense to either Elizabeth or Taya, but sometimes people will just say to themselves, these are just disgruntled women, whatever it is. But if you have someone representing you, and if there is someone in STS Nation willing to do that, it would be very helpful. But it's about time, says I've been sitting on a story like this for years. It's about me. I put it out there, guys. My hometown in Ohio is just as corrupt. I have decades of receipts, but fearful. Not anymore. So you guys are already helping people in other states here. But General, to you, here's a different sort of question. If there are law enforcement officials or legal professionals who suspect that a colleague is abusing the law, aka someone new, let's say Mickey Steins, Kevin Mullins, and knew he was doing this, what is the obligation of law enforcement or county or state official to step in and do something?
Yeah, if you're aware of allegations of misconduct, you have a duty to investigate them and see if there's any official misconduct going on. We do charge and prosecute that a fair amount in our district here. We've prosecuted police chiefs, deputy sheriffs, mayors. And so, we do have some resources to investigate and charge those. And I understand that this area of Kentucky seems to really, I think I'm in a rural area. This seems really rural and lacking in some resources. I did want to mention, I did a quick search, and in Kentucky, there is an organization called Refuge for Women, based in Louisville, Kentucky, for victims of sex trafficking and other misconduct. So I would recommend that. You could, I think it's refugeforwomen.org.
And Steve Cohen, if you're listening, let's reach out to them. Let's reach out to the Southern Poverty Law Center for sure.
And yeah, that's one other thing. In my area, we have something called Area Legal Services, and they provide legal services for free to people who can demonstrate a need and that they qualify for their services. So that's another good resource if it exists. Now, that may not be everywhere. You may have to contact one closer to Louisville or more metro area, but that can be another resource.
I think it's very important also that we understand and educate on what sex trafficking is, because I don't think people know what it is if it smacked them in the face. Our Attorney General's office has a sex trafficking, human trafficking task force. Why did they not send that in here when it started with Ben Fields? There were so many inconsistencies. There were so many contradictions whenever it came to that investigation. When the Attorney General came in to investigate Ben Fields, I think that there were backroom deals done or negotiations done. You give us Ben, and we will make the rest of it go away.
Elizabeth, someone was asking the best way to reach you. I don't want you to give a number or anything, but is there a good email, or can they reach you on your YouTube channel, which is Hillbilly Crime? What's the best way?
Hillbillycrime@gmail.com.
There you go. Hillbillycrime@gmail.com. Hillbilly Crime. So, Taya, back to you. Just back to the judge for a moment. Was he, during this time when he was throwing money at you for sexual favors and he was doing a lot worse to you, was he threatening you as well? Was he using his power and saying, hey, if you do this or tell anyone, I'm going to, go after your family, anything along those lines?
No, that's not necessary, because you're groomed and taught how to be before it starts.
Elaborate. Yeah. What do you tell me what you mean? I mean, I know what grooming is, but what specifically?
I moved in with my first daughter's dad when I was 13, because I started getting abused and I got raped and got pregnant at 13. My mom got scared, and he was 20 years old, and he promised her he wouldn't touch me until I was 15, that he would keep me safe. So my mom sent me to live with him, and he taught me how to use my body to get what I needed, and that I was sitting on a gold mine and all sorts of things. Yeah. So I already knew what was up, like, before
I want to mention
started. I knew what was happening.
Yeah.
I want to mention too.
Hop in, Elizabeth.
I want to mention about the grooming. So another one, young lady who is a victim of all of this told me that was the hardest part of her journey, of her healing journey, was because she really thought this man was her friend. She said, I thought that I had the best thing going. He told me where all the best dope was, who had all the best dope. He told me where all the roadblocks were. He told me who was ratting, so who to stay away from as informants. I wasn't allowed to go see my kids. I wasn't allowed to leave the county. But once I started, doing what he was wanting me to do, and I struck up, and he made her feel like he cared about her. She didn't have anyone in the world. She was homeless. She didn't have nobody to help her. And here's this cop coming, telling her that she's pretty and, like he's interested in her. And regardless of what people, if they want to admit this or not, but once you have that intimate contact with somebody who is grooming you, that the other party, to that is kind of manipulated into that. They're lulled into that in a false sense of security and stuff. So this you know, that was the hardest part for her to break in her mind, that he was not her friend, that what he did to her was, you know, wrong.
Mm. By the way, the other show that drives me crazy that we do often is Alan Greenberg, who was stabbed 20 times and they ruled it as suicide, even though at least one of the wounds was post-mortem, which is kind of hard to do to yourself once you're dead. And I said in that one, too, that the microphone is the most powerful. Well, social media now is just as powerful. So if you can take these links, and I'm not feel free to go to Appalachian Dreamer, which is Taya's channel, or Hillbilly Crime, and retweet and send those links. That is going to be very important. But Taya, to you, do you think there's anyone inside the Letcher County courthouse who didn't know what was going on, or did everyone in there know what was happening? Just giving me a look. Everyone knew. But I mean, there have to be some good people. So were they just scared and staying silent?
I think, like, for so long, and the grooming goes farther than just the girls. You know, it's we're groomed to think that this is okay and that this is how people live.
It's acceptable.
Even the women and the other people that work there, like, they believe that this shit's acceptable.
By the way, this is the Southern. I'm sorry, real quick. This is the Southern Poverty Law Center, SPLcenter.org. And I know, Taya, you're going to go back, and I hope Taya and Elizabeth share all these on their site. But I'm hoping that someone comes forward from STS Nation who says, let's get a list of these women and let's bring these, they're not grievances, but these claims, publicly to someone who can actually do something here. So let's try to make that happen here. Taya, to you, what made you, just a couple more minutes and then we're gonna get final thoughts from everybody. It's a Tuesday, just back from Boise, Idaho. There's only so much one man can take. This is driving me crazy right now. This story is making me insane. But what made you decide now to come forward? I mean, this, everyone's going to, I know victims come forward at a time that's comfortable for them. The Kevin Mullins murder happened back in September, but why did you decide suddenly to go on YouTube and make these videos?
Because I realized that nobody is looking at us still, for one thing. And the other thing is that, like she said, like, you've got to come to a personal healing before you can face your demons. You know, it takes a lot of inner work. It's taken me a long time to get here and to be able to talk about my experiences and stuff without shame. That's why whenever people bring up my charges, I welcome that. I welcome rebuttals. I want people to ask me questions and things so that we can expose it truly the way it is. But, oh my God, I lost my thought.
No, it's okay. Well, Ty, let me ask you this.
Okay.
So you still have a $300 restitution, like a balance, is that right?
Mm-hmm. At the clerk's office.
And if that's paid off, what does that mean?
Nothing.
Well, no. Oh, it doesn't help you in any way?
No. He just keeps telling me to get it paid.
But
I still owe all that money on child support. There's nothing I can do about it.
How much child support?
The child support, because the thing is if I went and paid that, I wouldn't have the money to pay the child support. And if I don't pay the child support, guess what? They put me back in jail for my full sentence.
Can I ask you what you owe on the child support?
It was like $26,000 last time I saw it personally. I haven't called down there and checked. I try to just avoid them at all costs and mail in my checks every month or money orders. But I know that the taxes this year, my husband claimed me on his taxes, and a lot of it did go to that. So I don't know how much of it came off, but nowhere near. At this rate, I would be like 60 or 70 paying it at this rate before I could ever even come close to having it paid off.
Well, down the road, maybe we can try to do some sort of fundraiser to help you out so you can get to a position. I mean, Mark, just back to you. This just seems like a vicious cycle. People, in power like this judge preying on a woman like Taya, who doesn't have tons of means, owes money on restitution, owes money for child support, and it's just this cycle that they can't get out of. How's this broke in general?
Yeah, well, once you're victimized like this, it can be extremely difficult to get out of it. And in Kentucky in particular, I agree with Taya, the child support's a bigger problem than the restitution. I think if you get over $2,000 in arrearages in Kentucky on child support, it becomes another felony crime. So that keeps you in a certain level of jeopardy, legal jeopardy, that you're going to stay in unless you can figure out a way to get out of it. Now, it's certainly my hope that Taya will see a lot of support coming her way from telling her story. I think we're already seeing some of that just based on this broadcast. So certainly wish her all the best, but I know it's a tough situation. And, at some point you might, and this may sound far-fetched, but reach out to local lawmakers in the Kentucky legislature to say, can we talk about this?
Oh, that's on the list, honey. It's on my list.
Yeah,
listen, if they would have let me have my parole, I could be working on toward getting an expungement, and I would have been able to finish my social justice degree. I had plans to go back in and work inside the prison system as a social service clinician. I was going for my bachelor's for that. And I found out about the parole thing that they're never going to let me go. So I stopped going to school. I quit.
Can I ask
what's the point in having the degree if I can't use it?
Yeah, Elizabeth, jump in. I love it. You're a YouTube host. You got questions. I love it. Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Well, I want to know who gets that part of the child support that is interest. Who does the interest go to? Do you know, General?
I don't exactly know. That's a good question.
That goes to the into the county coffers, so they can
I would think that the government that's going to be published somewhere on the website about the fine. I would Google search it. Kentucky child support interest. Where does it go?
Because they ain't giving it to the kids.
That's why you don't have a single pothole in Kentucky.
She never saw a dime of her child support money before. Before I went to prison, she never got none of it.
What do you know? What the interest rate is? Do you know what it is?
I don't know. Google gives you different answers. I don't know what to trust on. I don't know what's accurate and what's not.
And that's a big problem.
But now I know that it's Krisha is the one that told me. She was like, it's way too high for you to pay it off like this. You have to go get a loan and pay it off in full and then pay your loan off.
That's not fair.
And that's what I just found out recently.
That's not
like, you're going to be stuck with us for the rest of your life if you don't go get a loan or something and figure out how to pay this. Yeah. And they did not even inform me of any of this ever.
And that's a parole officer that she's talking
that's not even my parole officer. She was just walking through and thought she'd be nice. I'm grateful that she did. But
Ned Smith saying she's as peed off about this as she is about the Ellen Greenberg case. Even I'll forgive her for writing Goldberg, but it's Ellen Greenberg. And listen, I'll give you guys Mark and I will give you a little hint. Women have more grit and power and determination than us men. So you guys just stick it out and you'll come out ahead on the other side. But let's get some final thoughts. General Mark Davidson, he is an active district attorney for 5 rural counties in Tennessee. I mean, Mark, you pretty much said it. I feel completely helpless here. I don't know what to do other than putting out the FBI emails, putting out the Southern Poverty Law Center. I'm going to connect Elizabeth with Lisa Bloom, who's Gloria Allred's daughter and an attorney herself. But I don't know. What can they do in the immediate hours after this podcast? And what's more of a long-term strategy for these women?
I would encourage you to keep doing what you're doing. And that's telling your story. That will encourage others to do it, and hopefully it will encourage others to reach out and offer, whatever assistance they can. I'm a big fan here locally of our domestic violence shelters. We don't have them in every county, and where I do have them, I can see a huge difference, and I want to get that in all our rural counties. And that's a discussion I've been glad to have with people in our community, because they can offer employment. They can offer resources, cell phones, jobs, all the kind of things you're talking about lacking, and that make it so difficult to extricate yourself from this kind of situation. So again, that comes down to a community and resources. And the more you talk about your story and get the word out, I think you're doing the best you can.
Yeah, and that the general is the voice of reason here. Cherry and Max 624, can you do a follow-up? We'll definitely do a follow-up again. I know Steve Cohen. He's sending out emails to the Southern Poverty Law Center. Steve knows Gloria and Lisa Bloom too, who could help. But if there's someone in STS Nation that can represent Taya and Elizabeth, if you want to, we could even stream a show together if we can get a few more victims on at one time. Taya and a few others. Yeah, so Taya, if I'm going to send you my contact info. We will do it that way. I'm going to leave the final word for Elizabeth. So Taya, let me just say this. It takes a lot of courage to come out and share a story like you just did. With that said, I can tell that you're like a ball of fire that takes absolutely no what. So whatever your husband says or whatever other guys are saying, I know you're going to do the right thing. And it may have taken this long to get where you are, but keep going and we'll do what we can to help you. And with that said, just your final thoughts. Kudos to you for coming out and speaking publicly.
Thank you. And I just want to say thank you so much. Thank you for doing this and putting it out there. Thank you for helping us get help.
Yeah, and please, everybody, again, share the link. Share Appalachian Dreamin' is Taya's YouTube channel, and of course, Hillbilly
Dream. Apple Dream. Yeah.
Apple Dream, APP. Okay, AL Dream, APPAL Dream. And Elizabeth, you get the final word here. You're the one that got this ball rolling. I know you're going to stay on it, but it's depressing, and I feel helpless. I don't know what to do. So what's your answer?
Well, I feel hopeful because one of the ladies, after hearing how difficult her financial situation was the other day, I sent her $50, and her first response to me was, I don't want charity. I want a job. I want consistency. I want to be able to build my life. And it put a fire in me. And that's when this idea was built in my mind, that these women have got to be given support and taught. I'm self-taught. I just did it all, but I will share every bit of what little bit of knowledge I have and to help them be self-supported. Whenever I started my channel, I was like, this is how much money I need to pay my bills every month. And I had to trial and error, figure out what I had to do with my channel in order to make that much money to pay my bills every month. And I've just kind of finessed it and figured it out and figured it out and figured it out. These women can do the same thing. You guys asked me a long time ago if I was afraid. And I said, the reason why I wasn't afraid is because they can't fire me. They cannot take my income. I own my own home. They cannot put me out homeless. That's what we have to do for these women. We have to be able to help them get on their feet where they can make their own money and pay their own bills.
And lots of them are still dealing with domestic violence and stuff too.
Yes.
So it's a sticky situation all around.
Yeah. Well, Ty, I don't know if you know this. My mom's a Holocaust survivor. That's why we call the show "Surviving the Survivor," and she's a firecracker. I'm gonna get her to come on one of these shows just so
I'd love to talk to her.
Yeah, she's like Elizabeth's mom. She will talk and give you very honest advice. Let's put it that way. So I'll get her on. I'm sure she's listening.
Love to talk to her, and I'm sure that there will be so much value in that conversation for everybody as far as healing goes.
Yeah. Well, listen, anything you need from us. Are you scared right now? Are you fearful for your life even?
I mean, there's always the possibility, yes, but I'm not afraid of them. I'm not going to let them back me down and scare me in a corner or threaten me on YouTube. I'm done because it's went on too long. And there are so many victims, and they still have our kids wrapped up in their system. They're harassing our children. Social services is still taking people's children away left and right for no reason. Not give you a chance to even take a drug test, or don't even care if you pass it. It's bad here. There's a lot of things. It's not just the jail. It's not just Kevin. It's not just the courthouse. This is really deep, and the roots are just You know, like how like mushroom mycelium grows here. I got to be weird for a minute. How it just grows like all underground and like spreads all over the tree roots, and that's like how I feel like this is. Like it could never be completely eradicated, and that's a scary thought.
They weaponize the system. They weaponize social services. They weaponize
in order to abuse and harass us into submission.
Well, you guys are doing the hardest part first, which is speaking out and letting everybody know. And we're going to definitely follow up on this. I'm going to, obviously, I talked to Elizabeth, whenever we do these shows, and I'll get in touch with you, Taya, through Elizabeth, and we'll keep Mark in the loop. And if you guys appreciate the content here and you want to support them, hit that like button, hit subscribe. And tonight, if switching gears, I've been asked to go back on Court TV, second night in a row, this time to discuss Donna Adelson's impending trial. Tim Jansen and Monica Jordan will be on as well at 9:00. So appreciate you all being here. Tomorrow night, we've got the man who's been following the Menendez brothers story from day one, Robert Rand. A lot going on in that case. So we'll be doing that tomorrow. And then I think picking up James Craig, the dentist accused of poisoning his wife, who's standing trial. I think we're going to pick that up on Thursday. So a lot of crazy out there. Everybody stay safe. Love you, America. Love you, Letcher County. Yeah. Love you, Letcher County. Stay safe there.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, watch your back in Letcher County for sure. And we'll get who we can to help. Mark, thank you. See you all tomorrow. Thanks for being here, everybody.
I think I got more protection.